do as I start these workshops is to ask everybody, since I'm assuming you may not all know each other, perhaps you do, but I don't know that, is everybody just to very briefly say their name, and the department they are from, and one thing they are grateful for today. So if we could just do that in sequence, that would be great.
Okay, I think alphabetically I start out the first, right? Meghna, do you want me to start or do you want someone else?
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
Sure. Good morning, and thank you again so much for agreeing to do this workshop for us today. My name is Pranesh Ashwath. I'm the interim provost at UT Arlington. I'm also a professor in mechanical engineering and material science and engineering. And one thing that I'm very thankful for is really for Meghna's leadership in being able to keep this at the forefront of this institution, and for being a strong advocate for curricular innovation in the area of sustainability. So thank you.
Thank you.
Who wants to go next?
We can go down the list alphabetically, Meghna. That will be the easiest. You
Sure.
can maybe call them out, so that'll be easy.
Yeah, I can do that. Chris? You're muted.
You're still
You're muted, Chris. Oh.
You're still on,
Chris. Give me a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
No.
Okay. Okay, so now you can hear me and you can see me.
Yes.
All right. So I'm Chris. Mute your audio here. Hang on, we're still. Okay, how's that?
That's good.
I'm Chris Morris, and I'm in the history department. And part of the technical problem is that my colleague Andy Milson is here, and we decided that we would go through this workshop today in the same room on campus, since we're both tired of being stuck in our caves at home. We're looking for some real face-to-face time. So we have the computer session in the classroom here, but we both have our laptops and iPads going as backups. I should just say that, so I teach environmental history, and I've been working in the environmental sustainability minor on campus here since we began that about 10 years ago.
And one thing you're grateful for?
Oh, one thing, it's not raining today.
Perfect.
That's nice. Felicia, would you like to go next?
Sure. Hi, my name is Felicia Birch. I am a professor in the Department of Theater Arts and Dance. And one thing I'm really grateful for is my family. My sister just sent me a video of my twin nieces learning to say my name for the first time, and it gave me all the feels and made me realize just how much love I have in my life. So I'm very grateful for my family.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. Arpita?
Hello, good morning, everyone. This is Arpita Bhatt from Civil Engineering Department at UTA. I'm Assistant Professor of Instruction, and I have been teaching varieties of courses, and one of the courses that I enjoyed the most is the construction sustainability. So this is the great opportunity that I'm grateful for, that I was able to leave my home and come here at UTA campus so that I can attend the workshop away from my kids. So, and besides that, yes, of course, I'm grateful for having my family with me during this pandemic. So, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Habib,
Good morning, everyone.
good
My
morning.
name is Mary. I'm with the Civil Engineering Department as well, in the area of water resources. I'm grateful that hopefully we're going back to school in person fall.
Good.
That's very nice. Thank you, Habib. Benito?
Hello, I'm Benito Chen from the Department of Mathematics. I sometimes teach math modeling, which will be a good course for sustainability problems, but I am not scheduled to teach it for the next semester, so I don't know what's going to happen. I am thankful that my family and I are healthy with no COVID.
That's very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Paul?
Hi, I'm Paul Combination, and I'm working as the interim director of UTA's Research Institute, and I'm also in the chair of the Industrial Engineering Department. I have an interesting thing I'm thankful for, and that is I have an opportunity to develop a new bachelor's program in resource and energy engineering. And the reason I'm thankful for that is that's allowed me to reach across campus and talk with a lot of people that I normally would not have interfaced with, and have learned a lot about the things we're doing across campus in this area. It's really impressive, the work we're doing, and being able to pull that together in a single program is really exciting.
That's great.
That's great. That's very exciting. I hope we can help.
Yes.
That sounds very exciting. Susan?
Good morning. My name is Susan Dekiant. I direct the Service Learning Program in the Center for Service Learning. And I am grateful for all the relationships that I've been able to build through my position in the center, because I get to reach out across disciplines and across the colleges and units on campus and get to know so many wonderful people on campus.
That's very nice. Thanks, Susan. Jacqueline? Jacqueline? Yeah.
Hi, hi everyone. I'm Jackie Fay from the Department of English, and I am thankful today that it's such beautiful weather and that it is June already and it's not hot.
Right. That's a good one.
Really
Thank you so much. Thank you. Who's next? Lonnie?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lonnie Harrison, Associate Professor of Russian in the Department of Modern Languages. I'm also Director of the McDowell Center for Global Studies. And one of the reasons I'm here is the McDowell Center has a new minor in Global Studies, which has a major focus on sustainability. So I'd love to share more about that later in the workshop if we have a chance. And I'm very grateful for all the amazing colleagues I have at UTA.
That's great.
That's great, Lonnie. We didn't know about that. That's exciting. Perhaps we should connect and we can help.
That would be awesome.
Fahir Safari?
Oh, hi. This is Fahir Jafari. I know Magna for a while, and I'm so happy to be part of this. My son, Doug Clark, and David Nygren work together to actually with a new initiative, and we are actually we have Magna part of this EHS and Earth Human initiative, system initiative, and I am so happy to be part of this. And of course, Doug maybe talk more about this, but thank you so much now for inviting us. I'm so excited to be part of this too.
Thank you so much for your enthusiasm.
Absolutely.
Next one. Yeah. Chin Yang?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Chin Yang Zhang. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So my name is Chin Yang Zhang, and I am an associate professor in the Department of Communication. And I'm grateful that we have this opportunity to share our ideas about sustainability around and beyond our campus.
Thank you. Ritu?
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Good to see you all. I'm a cultural anthropologist and associate professor in the Department of Sociology and Anthropology. I've been at UTA for 14 years and I study media. I'm grateful for, currently grateful for two students in our undergraduate students in our anthropology program who will be presenting at a conference, virtual conference in South Africa. And we hope to go to an event hosted by the United Nations soon. So I have put up our panel to broadcast this participation and activity. So this is something I'm really very grateful, the chance to mentor these students and work with them.
That is so exciting. Yeah. Thank you, Ritu. Douglas?
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Douglas Clark. I'm the Associate Dean for Faculty and Student Affairs within the College of Architecture, Planning, and Public Affairs, and I'm a professor of architectural history. And I guess the most thing I'm grateful for overall is the fact that I was able to have a career in academia. This is my third career. And in most other nations, you would not get those opportunities. I also was educated in Germany, and that would not be possible. So here I am, 16 years at UTA, and now a professor, and my head sometimes spins because I thought, wow, okay, I would recommend this to anyone. It's a circuitous route, but hey, that's what this nation permitted me to do. So I'm grateful for that.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Thank you so much for Douglas. That's very inspiring. Wei Chen?
Hi, good morning, everybody. I'm Wei Chen Lee. I'm a professor at the EE department. And my research area more on the power and energy side. And recently I expand my research, get into the agriculture side. So that is basically, okay, so we a group of faculty, we get together, we are looking for so-called food, energy, and water. So that is in line with the activity on this group here, the sustainability. I'm really grateful to get the opportunity to know everybody, and then hopefully we have the opportunity to work together.
That's very nice. Thank you. Karen?
Hi. Oh, I'm very orange. That's there we go. I'm not working from the tanning salon, I promise. So I'm Karen Magruder. I am an assistant professor of practice and director of undergraduate programs at the School of Social Work. I teach an environmental justice and green social work course, and I am grateful to see so many faces from different backgrounds and disciplines all coming together for a common goal.
Thank you so much, Karen. Leah?
Hello, everyone. My name is Leah Mar. I am from the Department of Modern Languages. I teach Mandarin in the beginner level, and I am very grateful for the natural world as I just came back from a road trip and seeing the desert and rain bombs and all these amazing things, and the opportunity to serve.
That's very nice. Thank you. Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andy Milson. I'm in the Department of History, and I teach geography courses primarily at the undergraduate level. Excuse me. And I'm grateful for the COVID vaccine that allows me to sit in the same room with my colleague, Chris Morris. And by the way, we're in University Hall 360, so if anybody else wants to come join us for parallel play. I never thought I would miss in-person meetings, but I do. And so I'm grateful that we're getting to a point where we can see each other and sit in the same room again. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Peggy?
Hi, everyone. I think I know quite a bit of people here. Let's see. I am Peggy Symington. I've been at UTA since 2008, and I'll stay here till I retire. And let's see. I am in linguistics and TESOL. I'm primarily in the TESOL unit. I also have a background in K-12 teacher education, and I'm just interested in cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary work. I'm very interested in the future of education, meaning more of a digital focus, but all things change. I'm very interested in the way the world is changing right now. And I'm grateful that I'm selling my house and my closing date is next week.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
I'm rebooting my life. So.
And last but not the least, Alicia.
Hi, I'm Alicia Swade. I teach French for the Department of Modern Languages. I am grateful for one of the classes I teach is a French cultural class that's actually taught in English. And one of the subjects we broach is differences in environmental initiatives, sustainability green initiatives in France versus the United States. So I'm thankful for the reflective nature of our students, my confidence in them to improve the environment in the future, and also for my pets, one of whom is very concerned for me right now, being in front of the TV.
Thank you so much. Well, I guess that's about it. Please let me know if I missed anyone. Raise your hand or unmute and please introduce yourself. I was just going by the order of the attendees, so my apologies if I missed anyone.
Kendra?
Kendra, yeah, go for it.
Hi. My name is Kendra Wallace, and I'm in material science and engineering, and I'm thankful for new opportunities that I'm being offered at UTA, one of which is to teach some energy classes next year. And so in the fall, I'll be teaching materials for energy, and I'm excited about that. And also, I think that course will count as an elective in the new program that Paul mentioned for resource and energy engineering. So good to be with you all. Thanks.
Thank you. Who was next?
Hi, I believe that's me. Hello, my name is Emma Young. I'm an assistant professor from industrial engineering. My research is on sustainability of advanced manufacturing, like waste recycling, process emission from additive manufacturing or 3D printing. One thing I'm very grateful is that we have so many, I have so many like collaborators, and we have so many faculty folks at UTA that care about sustainability. So yeah, that's what I'm most grateful today.
Thank you. Anyone we've missed? Thanks, Emma. All right, I guess. Yeah, I guess that's about it. Jeff, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, I would love to. Thank you all for meeting this morning and for this agreeing to come to this workshop. It's really exciting to be with you. I wish I could actually be with you. Like Christian and some of the others, I'd like to be in the same room, but we'll get there eventually. Let me just say a little bit about my background. Meghna did introduce me. I started what we called the Ponderosa Project when I was at Northern Arizona University. And that model has been adopted by many other institutions. And that was a model designed to integrate sustainability across the curriculum. We learned a lot in the 5 or 6 years we did that project. And then I went to Emory University and helped them start the Piedmont Project. And then there are many other projects around the United States, but also in some other countries as well, which is very exciting. As Meghna said, I spent a fair amount of time. I was at San Diego State University for 14 years. I also served as the provost of Cal State Channel Islands. I'm actually technically retired now, but still loving to do this kind of work. And one of the things, well, I'll say just a little bit more about myself. My background is actually in American and British literature. So sometimes people are surprised that I didn't come up through a field like environmental sciences, but I nevertheless got very interested in the environment and in sustainability. And one of the things I'm thankful for is that I grew up in a family where we talked about the environment even when I was a child. And so I grew up around that. I'm also thankful for the family I currently have, my grandchildren, as well as, children that are spread across the country. And some of them have been fortunate enough to live in China and other places. So it's really, really wonderful to have them. One of the things I wanted to say is a way of introduction today. Early on, when we started doing these workshops, we had a little bit of a mantra that we would repeat. And it's one that we have never dropped, and it's always worked. And so I'm going to share it with you now. And that is that these workshops are not designed to tell you what you should do with your courses. These workshops are designed for you to determine what you want to do with your courses. And so one of our sort of underlying tenets is that you are the experts here. My background's in English. I know that one of you is in English. You've talked about history, engineering, and as having worked as a faculty member with many, many faculty members over the years, I know that for me to tell a biologist how they should change their course is not appropriate any more than for a biologist to come to me and say, here's what you need to put in your course. On the other hand, we've also found that the discussions, the cross-disciplinary discussions that the faculty in these workshops have are tremendously productive. And so one of the things you'll find over the next day and a half is that we've structured this workshop so that you will be in discussions with each other as much as listening to us or as listening to somebody else. Because what we have found over the years is that the discussions you have with each other generate some of the best ideas that come up in terms of how to introduce sustainability into a particular course. How you do it, we've had faculty member who have decided to revise courses entirely, introduce new projects, introduce new reading assignments. And over the next couple of days, you'll have an opportunity to meet each other. You may already know some of each other, but to have conversations about what you're thinking about doing. And that's a transition really to the first part of this workshop, where we are going to immediately, in a couple of minutes, put you into small groups and get you talking with each other. And when you're in this group, we're going to give you about half an hour. When you're in this group, we'd ask you each to share with each other what are the courses that you are thinking about changing to incorporate sustainability. And if it's a course in which you already touch on sustainability, how do you do it and how might you modify that or change that? And what are the challenges? And the challenges could be as specific as meeting, general education requirements, but they can also be technology. They could be any number of challenges that you come up with. Where do you need help? What would be most useful for you? Because throughout this workshop, we're going to also continually ask in an informal way to say, how can we be more helpful? How can we give you the kind of information, the background, the context, the links, or whatever it is you need in order to move forward? And then we're also going to move later this morning into some definitions of sustainability. We'll be talking about the United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, as well as a number. But true to the pattern of this workshop, we're going to begin, Magna is going to divide you into groups. We're going to give you about half an hour. And we're going to ask you to, once again, introduce yourselves to each other. and to have conversations about what are the challenges, what do you want to change, what are the roadblocks, what are the opportunities, and what would be most useful for you. So with that, the only other thing I will say is, given that this is all virtual, most of it is virtual, if you have to take a break at some point, we understand that. We've tried to put breaks into this schedule and give you plenty of downtime, but if you have to get up and move away from your screen, we understand that as well. So with that, Magna, do you want to add anything, or do you want to start dividing people into groups?
You're mute.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure that everybody is able to access the SharePoint document to mark present next to your name, so we know who attended the workshop today. And that's about it. I'm going to break. I think we have like 22 people, so I'm going to create 5 breakout rooms, and people will get randomly assigned, and we'll do that throughout the day just to make sure that there is a good mix for conversation and not everybody shows up in the same group all the time. So here we go. Technology will help us, hopefully, but I really wanted to acknowledge and thank Gus, who's here, OIT support, who has been immensely helpful in troubleshooting a lot of information for us, setting up this MS Teams link, and we could not have done it without him. So I really wanted to give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Gus. Okay, I'm going to create 5 breakout rooms. Before I do that, Jeff, did you give them what they're supposed to discuss in the breakout rooms? Do they have that information with them?
They should. It should be on the agenda, but it's, what courses are you considering to change? What are the challenges you're facing? What do you need help with? Those are the 3 things.
Okay. What courses are you considering? What challenges you face? And I can type that in the chat window as well.
The conversations you just had were great. I really appreciate being able to listen in on some of the questions you had, and some of the questions we can't answer immediately, but we can always follow up with more information. So we'll look forward to doing that. One of the things I wanted to share just very briefly to provide some context, if you go to the internet and you type in sustainability definitions, the last time I did it, I think there were 140 definitions or something like that. And one of the things that I have found useful in the past is just to share very briefly some very different definitions of sustainability. And starting with this one from the Brundtland Commission, which was published by the United Nations from the World Commission on Environment and Development back in 1987. And this is sort of a standard one about sustainable development, meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of the future generations to meet their needs. So I'm going to move on from that one. One of the things that we've talked about is moving away from, I'm sure you've seen this model, and connecting economic, environmental, biological, and social systems, and making sure that sustainability is the intersection of these, not just one of these by itself. And here is a more detailed Venn diagram of that particular definition. And the sustainability is somewhere in the intersection as opposed to just in one area or not. It wasn't that long ago that somebody once said to me, "Oh, I hear you're interested in sustainability." And I said, "Yes." And they said, "Oh, you mean the green stuff?" And my reaction, of course, was, well, yes, but it's also connected to economics, and it's also connected to our social world as well. So here are another Venn diagram. And if any of you would find these useful at any point, these are all available. You can get them online, or I can send them to you as well. So David Orr, who he initially wrote a book back in 1992, and then followed it with the 4 changes of sustainability. And I'll let you just read this one for yourselves, and I'll stop talking for 10 seconds. So clearly Orr is putting this in the largest context possible. And then there are the UN Sustainability Development Goals. And I believe that Meghna may have already shared these with you. And in one of the conversations I was in earlier, one of you was already talking about how you're connecting these development goals to your teaching, and that's very exciting. Here's another resource. If you want to, at some point, you can go online and Google UN Sustainability Development Goals, and you get this slide, but you will also can sort of dig down into any one of these for more details about what kinds of things they're thinking about. And then I wanted to end with this one, because this one is one that I think people have found fairly exciting. Sustainability is not a problem, it's a way of life. In this respect, sustainability resembles love, health, or peace. It becomes a practice for individuals and communities. Think of it as an infinite game in which the goal is not to win, but to keep on playing forever. It always manifests itself someplace with some people. It always has a local personal flavor. And because conditions and people change, sustainability always appears dynamic, evolving. It involves learning and transforming. This is where creativity comes in. You can't have sustainability without imagination. And faculty members over the years have found this useful because it does suggest that there's not an end point where we're suddenly going to be able to flip a switch and say, oh, okay, everything's sustainable now. It's an ongoing process that we're going to have to engage in, not just for the next 10 years or 20 years, but for many years to come. And I'm reminded of a quote from Mary Catherine Bateson, which I don't have a slide for, but it's very short. And she said, teaching students today is teaching them to live on a planet we have never seen. And I think one of the both inspirational and challenging things that faculty members face right now is teaching students to live on a planet that we have not seen, that we don't know exactly what's going to happen. We may have predictions, but we don't know how it's all going to play out. So very quickly, any reactions to any of those definitions or slides? And if you wanted to share other definitions with each other, by all means, feel free to do that. Any reactions? Any thoughts? You can enter it in the conversations. You can raise a hand.
This is Arpita. I'd like to say one thing that I read in one of the books that I teach, Construction Sustainability, where they say that, as humans, we have the need for the environment or the nature to survive upon. The nature has been surviving without human intervention. Right. So, we basically have to take care of our environment and nature, because as humans, we have the need to survive and live with them. They have been surviving without us. The nature has been evolving. They quickly adapt and, survive. But this is basically comes to us as humans to take care of our environment and nature, because ultimately we are in need of them.
Very nice. Yes. Thank you. Any other thoughts? Thanks, Peggy, for sharing the, not this Peggy, but the other Peggy, for sharing the links to the Sustainability Development Goals. And Lonnie, actually, I think Lonnie sent the link as well. So that's really helpful. Thank you. Any other?
I appreciate the kind of the reminder that when you say sustainability, often people just think of green, and that's not really what we're talking about, that it's much bigger than just climate action or green renewable energies or it's just bigger than that. So thanks for that reminder and those suggestions for sustainability definitions.
Sure. Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you, Jeff. And can I also add to something Kendra just brought up, which is
sure.
This is Lonnie, and when I teach the SDGs, I also add to that the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, because I think sustainable development is very closely tied to advancing and promoting human rights in the world. So I think those are two topics that pair together really well.
Right, right. Very good.
Hi, Chris.
Go ahead, Andrew. Yeah.
It's Chris.
Oh, Chris. Okay.
Andy and I are sharing the.
That's right. That's right.
When I teach this too, I also discuss Herman Daly and his economic whatever it's called. I wrote it down behind me. But the idea that that development, and this is where the UN definition has gotten a lot of flack. The idea that you can, on the one hand, have economic development as we understand it, and sustainability doesn't work because using the earth in order to develop more and more wealth is inherently not sustainable. Right. And so I'm reminded of a really a terrific quotation that I'm going to post on my office door. I think that we have reached the point where it is easier to imagine the end of the world than it is the end of than to imagine the end of capitalism. And I would say if we're going to imagine a sustainable world, we have to imagine a world without capitalism, but another way of behaving economically. But anyway, I'll stop there.
That's great. Thank you. Okay. Well, why don't we move on? And I'm very pleased. One of the things we have found with these workshops over the years is we try to bring in people who are knowledgeable in a certain area and provocative and have great ideas. And I'm really pleased this morning to introduce a colleague of mine, Dr. Peggy Barlett from Emory University. I actually have known Peggy since I think 1998. I think we've been sort of working together. And she has done a great work at Emory University on the Piedmont Project, but her talents and skills and abilities and her knowledge base are so vast that she can talk about many things. And this morning, I've asked her to talk about toward a sustainable food system, global issues, and campus action. So she's going to take about half an hour. We'll try to leave a few minutes at the end of her talk for questions that you might have. And then we will once again break into small groups. But Peggy, why don't you go ahead and begin and share your screen, and you can go from there.
Thank you so much, Jeff. To get me as the speaker showing on the screen, am I now there?
Yes, you are.
Okay,
Yep,
you're still on my screen, so I'm still learning this method. So thank you so much today for having me, and I really look forward to sharing with you some thoughts about how we might move toward a sustainable food system. I find food one of the topics that really links beautifully with a great many other fields and subjects, and it allows for the integration of sustainability into many different kinds of courses. Food is incredibly important, obviously. We need it every day, but it's pretty invisible in a lot of ways. We have food, as one of the writers says, from nowhere. We don't know where it comes from. We don't know how it gets there. We don't really know how it's produced. We don't know our farmers. So bringing that invisible process into students' awareness and, of course, into our own as faculty and staff is really important. So I want to just say a word about my background, and then let me see if I can share my screen here. And I want to run through some of the challenges that we face in trying to create a sustainable food system, and then also some of the solutions that have been found. And as we, now is that one screen?
Yes, we can see it now, Peggy.
Okay, great. So as we think about solutions, there are of course some global ones and some national ones, but I thought I would make some comments about what higher education can do and use Emory as an example. So campuses have a really credible, important role to play. So my background is really on the production side. I have always been interested in how farmers make decisions and what they do. I studied farmers in Central America, but I visited farms like this one, sorry about that, in China. It's a Korean ethnic group where they've been doing this kind of intensive vegetable farming for a very, very long time, and it is, in fact, sustainable for thousands of years. And I also did research on U.S. industrial agriculture that really allowed, oh dear, I've not been doing this with this. Don't know what to do here. Hold on. Okay. In U.S. industrial agriculture, where we begin to see the challenges, the solutions that have brought us some really wonderful improvements in meat and vegetable grain production, but also have created challenges that we're now seeing with this roughly 100-year, 75-year experiment. We are not sure that they can continue. I'm not sure how I advance. Okay. So I like to shift sustainability, divide sustainable food systems into production, distribution, and consumption. I'm glad to hear the comment we just had that the economic way of thinking of things is pretty common. Some slogans that people use around production is we're looking for good, clean, and fair. And around distribution, there's a lot of concern about access and affordability. And in terms of consumption, one of the slogans that we have been using at Emory as part of our sustainability goals is to have healthy choices at all times of day. So the triple bottom line is using the sustainability perspective that Jeff just introduced really allows us to think about these trade-offs. So for instance, in this picture, I believe that's strawberry production. And for a long time, strawberry production used methyl bromide as a gas to sterilize the soil and remove all life from it, and as a way of controlling nematodes. But methyl bromide also depletes the ozone layer. And decades after we weren't allowed to use other gases that were ozone depleting, strawberry production and potato production have been exempted, so they've been using it. Just recently got finally totally banned. The full cost accounting would also have us look at, for instance, on the pastured poultry. Well, pastured poultry maybe produces a healthier chicken, some ways of having less disease, some ways perhaps more disease, and how do we think about whether it's affordable? So it gives you a bit of an example of trade-offs. I'm having trouble here. Navigate forward. Okay. So in terms of environmental concerns, there are a number, and these are really critical issues sometimes around the world. The first one that I think many of us are more aware of, and our students too, is the greenhouse gases embedded in food. There's been a lot of talk about reducing our meat consumption because there is energy embedded. But crop production too, especially when we use irrigation, when we use chemical fertilizer, transport has some role to play. And so the production methods really have used an incredible amount of petroleum as they have become more industrialized. The loss of topsoil is a critical issue as far as I'm concerned. The topsoil in Iowa is some of the richest and deepest ever formed, the result of glaciers, and we've already lost half of it. I was told we were lost half of it as of when I was in graduate school. And I recently had a conversation with the head of the Soil Researchers Association and was told that if we continue to farm Iowa the way we are right now, there will be no topsoil left by the end of this century. And I was puzzled by that because I thought we had a lot of terraces and a lot of waterways protections all through that area. And I was told that that's true, but we have increased our acreage. We have much heavier rains as a result of climate change, and the erosion is happening really, really fast. Water quality, you can see in this diagram that the water quality is draining into the dead zones at the mouth of the Mississippi River. The green are pollutants that are using up the oxygen in the water from cropland, and the red dots are, excuse me, municipal sewage where we have human waste that's using up the oxygen. The dead zone can sometimes be as big as the state of New Jersey. And there are 300 dead zones around the world that have been documented now. So this is a way in which, in a rhythm of death to the ocean, we are really not farming in a sustainable way. I'm also very concerned about biodiversity loss, and I want students to understand that we used to have, well, we're now reduced to less than 10% of the many wonderful varieties of crops of all kinds. And particularly with the coming of GMO crops and the concentration in the seed industry, as these three big seed companies have bought up the littler companies that managed local seeds that were very well adapted, we're seeing a huge loss in our big primary crops like corn. So this makes us very vulnerable as a nation and as a human population. And I see, as an anthropologist, seeds being one of the most precious components of our human heritage from our ancestors. We also, of course, have concerns about antibiotic resistance in the way we're raising our animals, and issues of pesticide residues in our food. At Emory here, our School of Public Health has done a lot of work on pesticides and the connection with Parkinson's disease. And the evidence is showing more and more that we really need to be careful about even very small pesticide residues circulating in our bloodstream. And then nutritional content, some of us are aware that the components of beneficial nutrients has been declining over a long time as we breed plants for other things. So these are a wide range of concerns about production, that some of them overlap with power issues, politics issues, economic issues. Looking specifically at economic issues, a fair return to farmers and to farm workers is one of the critical and very difficult, knotty problems. Because if we really pay farmers as much as they would like to have, we really make life very difficult for people who are buying that food. And of course, we need to have a vibrant regional economy. And one of the trade-offs that we often don't realize
Peggy, can you hold on for a second?
Yes.
Guys, lot of folks who are unmuted, can you please mute yourself? We can hear a lot of, somebody's playing some video, I guess.
Okay.
Hello? Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Magna. As we see communities dying and rural areas suffering, the opioid epidemic, certain amount of mental health issues are happening as economies dry up. This is a side effect of our industrial food system that is a cost that we might want to take into account as we think about how could we do it in a more local way that would be more vibrant. And preserving farmland, I don't know about your area, but I suspect it's similar to Atlanta. There's just been an endless expansion of suburbs and building, and it has led to a really major press on farmland in our area. So affordability, of course, as well is critical. The social concerns are really important as we look at justice issues. But there's been a lot of attention to problems in the farm worker community. Vibrant rural communities, again, can be considered a social issue, looking at safe working conditions and a respect for the farm occupation, is to say cultural value on this occupation is something that I saw really missing, even in a farm county in South Georgia, where it was a very primary economic engine, and yet young kids were really disparaged if they thought about being farmers. So as we think about these really knotty problems, one of the things that gives me hope as I teach about this is that there are just wonderful efforts all around the world to move toward a more sustainable system. I think we're all familiar with USDA Organic. It provides a nice teaching opportunity to talk about what it does and what it doesn't do. We have important advances, the number of different certifications in terms of animal welfare. And some of them have really made good strides in recent years. Grass-fed has helped us understand that while feeding on grasslands in very dry areas like Africa can have an enormous greenhouse gas investment, where there are improved pastures, you can actually have greenhouse gas emissions brought down to zero, that is to say net neutral, if grass-fed animals, particularly beef, are used. Seafood Watch is, I think, a really simple solution for many students who want to eat seafood but don't know which ones are sustainable, because there are guides for each locale. And students either have a little card for their wallet or an app, and they can check it if they're in the restaurant or in the store. It's very simple to learn which ones are the safe and appropriate choices for a particular area. And fair trade is one of the only ones really focused mainly on economic and social justice issues, providing safe cooperatives for coffee producers, particularly in countries that have made organizations in rural areas a very dangerous thing. Fair trade can really help with that process. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Fair Food label. This is the label that has come out of the work in Florida with the tomato workers for the coalition, by the Coalition of Immokalee Workers. And it has created an excellent system whereby workers get a fairer wage for their tomatoes and are protected in certain ways with abuses of the farm owners, and it has certified a significant percentage of the tomato production is moving now out of Florida into, I believe, South Carolina, and in last I heard, starting to work on certification of green peppers. And there are even more efforts. Of course, we have a federal SARE, Sustainable Agriculture Grant Program, research program, many by Fresh by Local organizations that are a part of this particular network. The Sustainable Agriculture Southern Working Group that provides a kind of cooperative extension service by farmers for farmers. Seed savers exist in many parts of the country. Alternative Farmland Trust is one of several groups working to save farmland. And for those of us who have a little bit of money to invest, we can always join on to the slow money movement, which often involves investments in farms and farmland, and find ourselves moving forward in investments in a way that's not only good for us, but good for the recipients. So I find that all these efforts provide a lot of hope. Sometimes they're very partial solutions to the problems, but they pioneer certain kinds of answers to questions, and then we can move that more into policy. I just have to share this slide because I find it so amazing. A lot of people don't know that in Kansas now for about 20 years, researchers have been working on a perennial wheat. And you can see in this slide, I don't know if you could see my cursor, on the left, there is the annual wheat, the amount of root structure, and on the right is what the perennial wheat provides in terms of root structure. So the idea would be that we just go into these fields and cut the wheat once a year, and the ground remains filled with these massive root systems that obviously are sequestering carbon and transforming the soil. So these kinds of solutions, I think, are really creative and be interesting to see what happens. So Emory's leadership really adopted a commitment to sustainability, and shifting now to what we can really do on campuses. There are opportunities for action. There are opportunities of many different kinds. So at Emory, our goal is to purchase 75% of our food either locally or from sustainable sources. And that's an incredibly bold goal. Some people feel we'll never get there, but we've made some good progress. We were up to 40% at one point on campus. We're now back a little bit lower than that. And our hospitals, which have a much more restricted set of purchasing that they can do, you can see are making progress toward their goal of 25%. Why have we made a commitment as a university? Well, a big part of it is the trends of obesity. I don't know how many of you are familiar with these charts from the CDC, but we found them as we were planning sustainability a long time ago, very, very powerful. So this shows in the 90s, the level up to about 20% of population being obese. 5 years later, we see that in the central area, we now have to go up even higher. We get up to 35% by the next 5 years. So we really have had a dramatic change. And each of these increases has led to more diabetes as a nation. Well, in the state of Georgia, we've determined that the cost per person with diabetes is about $17,000 a year. And of course, at Emory, we are very much seeing rises in our healthcare costs, and we agreed that we really can't afford this obesity epidemic. So we want to try to encourage healthier eating with different strategies. So we had to decide what we're going to count as local. And we decided, based on the research in our area, that we would prefer Georgia, but we would take as local the 8-state southern region, because we can get a lot of produce that we need starting in Florida, really in the early winter, and then moving north all the way to North Carolina. So that way we can really help prioritize farms in our region. We also decided we didn't want to get into the business of visiting farms and judging farms. We would use certifications like organic or fair trade in order to say what is sustainable. For the Embry Dining contract, for a while we encouraged our food service to do the best they could and move that percentage up. And then when we shifted contracts, we decided to move toward some basic requirements as well as a percentage goal. So we now require that all the ground beef served on campus be grass-fed, and it comes from a Georgia farm that has been studied by Michigan State, and it has been found to not only be climate neutral, it's actually regenerative, which is to say that it sequesters more carbon than it produces. So this is an example of how those of us who want to continue eating meat really have that option. The eggs are all humane certified. The chicken comes from this particular farm, which is the most sustainable large-scale farm that can provide the amount of chicken in the forms we need for our food service. We've restricted all fish and seafood to the good or best levels. That's actually been a pretty easy one to do. And we have certain goals for pork and coffee as well, certain requirements. We've worked also with the food service on various ways in which the institution is trying to help our suppliers, because we found this quote from Deborah Paxson that food services really can be transformative in the local food system. And we heard this from a national certifying agency about 10 years after we had gotten started. They were studying the whole country, and they said higher education is really in the forefront on sustainable food. There are a lot of ways to bring food into the curriculum and the co-curriculum. We have, in particular, food studies and ethics programs, but there's many different kinds of concentrations, minors, majors, and so on that can be constructed. We've also been very fortunate to be able to buy an organic farm and have a farmer who can actually help students work as part of a class. And we have now 8 educational gardens. I'll show you a picture in a minute. Some food-related speaker series, a slow food chapter that students run, and students can also do some farm volunteer work in the wider community. We've worked with the food service to shift menu choices and have meatless meals. We have taken all of our used cooking oil and turned it into biodiesel, and then we buy it back for our shuttle system. We started with an annual sustainable food fair that grew to have about 40 different vendors of chefs and stores and student displays. Really a fun activity. And that led to our garden project, where these are little flower bed sized gardens, but students, particularly the graduate students, really love the harvest they get from it. Sometimes they choose instead to donate to shelters. We have classroom connections of all kinds on the farm and with dining. We now have a farmer's market every week that really allows us to benefit a series, $500,000 of sales last 2 years ago before COVID. And in order to help our staff in hospitals, we provided a pickup site for farm shares that will let people get healthy food more easily. And I think, like you, we send our garbage to a composter and then bring the composting back onto our campus. One of the things that we were able to do once we had really reached a scale, that we were comfortable with what we were trying to do in-house. We worked with the University of Georgia and created the Atlanta Local Food Initiative. And this is really a network of people who talk together, bringing together, again, chefs and restaurants, stores, researchers, consumers, farmers, pretty much all the food service coming together. And we've been able to greatly increase food stamp opportunities, increase farmers markets, and so on. I really love that we've been able to move into a more citywide organization.
Peggy, I just wanted to interrupt and say that we have 5 more minutes.
Yes, I'm at the end just about.
Okay.
But I just wanted to highlight some of the disciplinary connections. And I'm not going to read these, but you can see here that the production system, the distribution system, and consumption offer a really rich series of opportunities for connection, including, I think, this one, the humanities, where we can see really interesting connections around food, even in our language classes. Some of the language classes have taken students out to do a day in the gardens in order to teach vocabulary. And I'm going to close with the last 2 slides. This is something really new, and we're so excited about it. Emory has pioneered the creation of a Working Farms Fund. We hope it'll be a national model. The Conservation Fund has purchased land in our metro area within a certain number of miles that is vulnerable to being developed into housing or shopping. Put a conservation easement on it so that it will be farmland in perpetuity, and then is leasing it to local small and sustainable farmers who will lease to own. And over a period of time, they will be able to buy the land and own it. And as they pay back that money, it will be used to buy other land. And part of what allows them to get a mortgage and to have a more successful bottom line is that they are guaranteed a contract with Emory to provide a portion of their production to our food service. This win-win-win partnership is really exciting, and we hope that it will really allow us to save some significant chunks of farmland in the Atlanta area, and in the process really help us as a school, because finding local sustainable vegetable products in quantities that we can buy has been a real challenge. So it's good for us. So I will close here with Carlo Petrini, the founder of Slow Food, who says, "Those who sow utopia reap reality." So I'm trying to remember how I get out. There we go.
Thanks, Peg. Well, it's trying out how.
Wait, I need help here to get myself out of this, or can you just take me out? There was supposed to be a little box. Oh wait, maybe here.
You can stop sharing your screen, Peggy.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, is that me and not the PowerPoint?
That's you and not the PowerPoint.
Okay, great.
So thanks. We have a few minutes if any of you have questions, and you could either put it in the meeting chat or raise your hand.
There's an echo coming on.
Yeah, I don't. What is that from? I don't have anything else on, so I'm not sure why it's echoing.
That's fine. That's fine. Keep going.
So
can you mute yourself? I'm just trying to make sure the echo is not at your end. Perfect. Go ahead, Jeff.
So any quick questions for Peggy before we move on? No? I'm not seeing any. What?
I see a hand, Alicia.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, thank you for that presentation, very interesting. It looks like you have a lot going on, and that it's the entire university
working together to incorporate this curriculum and initiatives on campus. So, I mean, what does that look like as far as on, you know, putting the entire thing together? Did it start at the top? Did it start with a faculty initiative like we're doing here? I feel like that's like a great goal, but also those first steps. Same, you know, I love the idea as a language instructor, taking my students into the you know, sustainable garden and teaching them vocabulary, but there isn't a sustainable garden at UTA. You know, how did this all get started? Did it start with the faculty? What are those first steps, maybe?
Yes, I think it did mainly start with faculty. Our Piedmont project got going and really had a number of other connections with sustainability before food kind of became an issue. And we started working with the food service. And I think one of the important innovations at Emory around the food service was we created the Sustainable Food Committee, which had 6 faculty drawn from the medical side, as well as the students, 2 graduate students, 2 undergraduate students, and the food service people. So it was a pretty big committee, but it allowed us to all think together and educate each other, and we would come up with questions and problems. And that, I think, helped those faculty integrate into their courses. And then the Educational Garden Project was a biology professor who said, oh, I think we ought to do this. And the Office of Sustainability helped to bring it about. And then the Slow Food chapter, that was a student initiative. So it's been varied, and you know, we have been at this since 2006. So don't be daunted if it isn't all in place in your school. I think finding what feels interesting and fun and easy, that's the secret. Find what feels fun and move ahead with that.
Great, Peggy. Thank you. Thank you very much. And it is very inspirational what Emory has done and what Peggy has done, working with so many colleagues there is really impressive. So sharing this, we really appreciate your time and all the information you have. So thanks, Peggy. I think she said thank you also. So we're now going to once again move you into small groups. And one of the things that you can do now between now and the lunch break is chat with each other about, given the kind of information Peggy just shared, not only about the details of the food research that she's done nationally and internationally, but also the way it manifests itself on the campus, and also her most recent comment about how long it took them to get where they are. So as in small groups now, I think Magna is going to break you up so you will be with different colleagues. And as colleagues, I would say at this point, given what you just heard from Peggy's presentation, what does it make you think once again about what are the opportunities and what are the challenges, both in terms of your own courses, but also in terms of UT Arlington? So Magna, do you want to start divvying people up into groups?
Yes. Can you tell me the questions again, Jeff, so I can type it in the chat for everyone?
Sure. So the first question is, given Peggy's presentation, what are the opportunities that you have in terms of developing your own sustainability in your own courses or across the curriculum? And what are the challenges at either in your department, in your college, or at UT Arlington overall?
And I have for several years now. I'm going to just cover, many of you know what service learning is, and if not, I'll be available to answer any questions after the workshop, or we can chat over Teams or whatever. Service learning at UTA is celebrating 20 years on campus as of this fall, and many people don't realize it's been around so long. It started in the provost office, and it has circled back through many avenues, and it is back under the provost office in the Center for Research on Teaching and Learning Excellence in Faculty Affairs. Briefly, what service learning is, and I can't get this go into presentation mode for me. There we go. Service learning puts experiential education into the curriculum so students get some real-life, hands-on opportunities to work to gain real-world knowledge and skills. This is done through putting in a service component into your academic course and course syllabus. The students work directly with a nonprofit or a not-for-profit agency, and that includes government agencies such as the EPA, City of Arlington, even entities within UTA. There is reciprocity through community identified needs. So the community agency has a need that you can fulfill through your course. So let's say that they're wanting to learn a certain component of what you're trying to teach the students, and they get to practice that with the real life partner. And the interaction, learning to talk with people outside of their course, their class, is really important as well. The most important part of that, though, in all of service learning is the intentional reflection. The digging deep within the students' thinking. Why are they doing this? How is it impacting themselves? What is it doing for the community partner? It really gives them some insight into who they are and how they feel and how they're working. Some people might confuse it with volunteerism, and there is a significant difference between the two. Volunteerism, for example, is when you're doing something for someone else and you feel good about it and they get something from it, but it's not reciprocal. It's not a give and take. Whereas service learning is that with portion. You get something out of it, they get something out of it, the students, everybody benefits and is impacted by it. It is also an integral part of the Maverick Advantage for those of you who have heard of it. And for those of you who have not heard of it, there are 5 distinguishing activities of experiential education that the UTA would like students to have before they graduate. And one of those is service learning under community engagement. Briefly, what the Center for Service Learning does is create awareness. We have speakers, events, workshops, seminars. We have a community partner list that we keep on our website and keep up the relationships with the agencies that have opted to be part of what we do. And we can help you find a community partner if you would like. If you have something in your course you want your students to learn, maybe we can help you find a community partner that has those needs to make your job a little easier. We're a resource. We hold a community partner breakfast once a year, normally in the fall. This year it's October 15th, where we bring community agencies together with faculty and staff and help you create some dialogue to see where and if you can find a fit. And the last thing I want to mention about what we do is we have a faculty fellows program. We have had since 2006, I believe, where faculty get intensive training into what service learning is, how to incorporate it into your particular class, what kinds of reflections, student outcomes, and other insight into that. We have one in the fall and one in the spring, 2 cohorts per year, small groups of faculty, and it is mostly discussion based. So we really dig deep into what each other is doing. That is facilitated by Dr. Amanda Alexander, who is also doing a short presentation on how she incorporates service learning as well. So how does sustainability fit into service learning? It fits across the board. It can fit into education. It can fit into under the sea. And the food, ending hunger, many, many different ways that it can align with one of the 17 UN developmental goals. You can align your service learning project to one of these goals and integrate some type of verbiage, which we can help with, and we're planning to put into our program moving forward. But identifying this aligns with this sustainable goal. Other ways, provide service learning reflection prompts that are related to both the project and its application to sustainability, if I can say that word. And another thing, if you really want to delve deep and really learn how service learning can benefit your students and you, apply to be a faculty fellow into our program. So to help with knowing how to put it into a course, 2 of our faculty are going to talk about their journey, how they put it into their particular course, some student impacts that they have seen or community partner impacts. And I'll just let them take it from here. And we will start with Professor Julia Lindgren and then followed by Dr. Amanda Alexander. Okay. And then we'll take some questions at the end if there's any time still available for that.
Julia, you are now the presenter now, if you want to share your screen.
Great. I am not seeing the share screen.
Okay. Should Amanda go first till you figure that out?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, Amanda,
I'll
make you the presenter.
Oh, I see it. So do you want me to go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to share quite yet. I wanted to introduce myself first and stay on camera before I show my little video. But yeah, I thought I might start by, like I said, introducing myself and talking just a couple minutes about my journey to service learning. So I am Dr. Amanda Alexander. I'm an associate professor of art education, and I'm also the assistant chair of the Art and Art History department. And I would say that I started doing service-oriented work probably in high school. I used to work as a volunteer on Saturdays to stock shelves at a food pantry near my home in Indiana, where I grew up. And I moved from doing that into undergrad, where I did lots of volunteer work as well. And then I ended up joining the Peace Corps when I had graduated with my business degree from Indiana University, Bloomington. And I would say that the Peace Corps is where I probably learned about the UN goals. And I don't know if they were called the sustainability goals at that point, but they definitely were interwoven with what we were doing in the Peace Corps. And my placement in the Peace Corps was basically small business development, working with artists in the northern Andes of Peru. And so I kind of got a very, I think, firsthand experience of what these sustainability goals could look like on the ground. So moving from the Peace Corps to, I would say, coming back to the US after that and going to grad school to get my master's and PhD at The Ohio State University. Everybody laughs because they train us to say the. Anyway, I ended up incorporating a lot of the service work that I was doing in the Peace Corps and building sustainability in the Peace Corps for communities in Peru into my research. So first I studied the fair trade movement and what that could mean for artists in the northern Andes. And then I also moved on to do a participatory action research study working with artists in Peru to, again, build sustainability, develop a website, and help them better develop their own businesses in Peru and online. And so when I came to UTA in 2011, I didn't discover the Center for Service Learning right off the bat, but I did discover it in 2012 and ended up applying to be a faculty fellow that year, the 2012-2013 year. And at that point, I had been approached by a nonprofit organization in Fort Worth called the Evergreen Cultural Arts Center. And they had wanted, and I'm not going to go too much into this because it's in the video, but they had wanted to partner with me. They were looking for any university professor working in the arts to partner with. So that kind of gives you a little bit of background up into you know, how I became a part of the Center for Service Learning and doing service learning in general. So the video I'm going to share is about 6 or 7 minutes. It's the reason I decided to share is because there's some images that you all can see. It's from last year, so it's a tiny bit outdated, but it will give you guys a pretty good idea of what I do in terms of my service learning project in particular. Let me see if I can grab. They have changed this. Hold on. I have it up. Maybe I'll just share my screen. You guys can see my whole screen now. I'll just enlarge the video so you all can see it. Hi, my name is Dr. Amanda Alexander. I'm an associate professor in the Department of Art and Art History. I run the art education program in the department. I'm going to talk to you today about my years of doing service learning with my art education students. Since 2013, spring of 2013, I have been partnering with the Evergreen Cultural Arts Center in Fort Worth. This is a center that their mission is communicating in conventional ways is often difficult for individuals with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities. Introducing art to many of the individuals we serve has helped to bridge that communication gap. It has also given individuals a sense of self and pride. Everyone has something to share, their ideas, their joy, or their pain. Art can provide individuals with intellectual and/or developmental disabilities with a means to share. They approached me in 2012 because they were starting the Cultural Arts Center and they wanted to partner with some universities around DFW to bring students to the center so that their clients could engage in art making and use art making in a way that might be therapeutic, but also they could sell their products for a profit. So I decided to partner with this organization because I thought that this would be a really interesting and engaging project for my own students. My students learn about teaching art in K through 12 schools mainly, but you know they also do a lot of outside of K through 12 field work, and this seemed like a good opportunity for them to not only learn the concepts and theories and strategies behind teaching art, but actually being able to apply those in different settings. So they do this in K through 12 schools, but this was another opportunity for my students to be able to teach adults experiencing disabilities in a community setting. So my students would learn the theories and concepts in class, and then they would apply a lot of these things with the folks that they were working with at the Cultural Arts Center. So at the beginning, my students learn a lot of, as I said, strategies and theories of teaching. They also read art therapy literature and disability studies literature to prepare themselves for this experience. This was the first year that we went to the Cultural Arts Center. This is the group of students. One of the projects that they decided to do was this graffiti wall. You can see behind the big group. This is all of my students and the group that helped with that project that year, which was spring of 2013. This wall was developed by one group of students that decided that they wanted art to be a continuous evolving thing in the lives of the folks at Evergreen and the Cultural Arts Center. So they put together this cool little graffiti wall, and people in the center could come to the wall at any time during the day and just paint if they wanted. Now, a lot of people had a hard time with this graffiti wall because it was something that was continuously changing, and some of the artwork that was really beautiful got painted over. But now we're in 2020 and the wall is still there and people are still painting on it, and it looks beautiful. It's awesome. So my students, they do 10 hours of volunteer work at the center, but they also do 3 class time designated class sessions, and we go for 2 to 3 hours together, and I go with them. And that's the photo that you see on the right. This is an art making activity that the students have developed and that they're working sort of as a group with the clients at the center. This is a picture of one of the students who put together a project for her 10 hours. She was doing this large landscape painting, and she had other students and clients participating in this. It's a desert scene, and I just thought this was a good example of projects that students do at the Cultural Arts Center. A couple more projects here. These are more recent. On the right, you have Manal and Janet, who did these tiles with individuals at the center and then made a table out of it, which I thought was really, really cool. And on the left, this is a big sort of group project that one of the student groups put together as participation in art making with the clients at the center. And it was basically a big banner that they painted that was sign language, because there's a couple folks at the center who are deaf, and so they wanted to be inclusive with these folks. This was an art making project that was geared towards being inclusive for them, and so they drew out the hands and they signed, I think it says welcome or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but I thought this was really neat that they were specifically developing this art activity for the folks who were who could not hear. So this is just a few of the projects over the 7 years that my students and I have been working at this facility. And this is just brief, but I have also turned a lot of my service learning with my students into published papers. The one on the right is a paper that was published in 2015. It's a pilot study from the first year of working with students at the Cultural Arts Center, and it was published in the Journal of Higher Education Outreach and Engagement. The paper on the left is something I'm currently working on, which is a mixed methods study, looking at the quantitative and qualitative data that I've collected over 7 years of working there with my students. And lastly, the other thing that I do as part of the Center for Service Learning is I have been leading the Faculty Fellows cohorts and the seminars since around 2014, on and off. I love doing this. I love being able to meet other people around the university and build new relationships and develop my network across the university. And I also just love engaging faculty from all disciplines and teaching them about service learning, because I feel that it's so important and impactful for not only our students, but for the community, for the faculty, and for the university. So it's been an honor and a delight to mentor faculty and work with the Center for Service Learning. Thank you.
Thanks, Amanda.
Okay, so I just want to conclude by saying that when I was looking at the UN sustainability goals, I could definitely pick out, I think there were 3 main ones that I thought that my particular service learning project would fall under. And those would probably be number 3, ensuring healthy lives and well-being, because a lot of what my students are doing is basically art therapy with individuals experiencing disabilities. Number 4, quality education for all, including the arts. And then number 10, reducing inequalities through supporting marginalized and disadvantaged populations and communities. So I think overall, I was asked to talk a little bit on my student impacts, but I don't know how much time I have. I could always send those papers that I mentioned in my video to anybody. The mixed method study was published this past year, and all those 2 papers talk a lot about the impacts to my students and the community partner. And so if anybody's interested in that, I could definitely send you all those published papers. But I think that just really quick, the thing that I think builds sustainability the most is building relationships and continuing the projects if you can, and not sort of abandoning them. I've found that to be one of the things that I've tried to keep sustainable throughout doing this work over the years. Okay, so anyway, I'm happy to answer any questions later. I will turn over to Julia right now. So thank you.
Thanks, Amanda. And if you have any resources, you can put it in the chat too. Julia, are you able to share your screen? I think I've made you a presenter.
Let's see. Maybe it's my computer. If not, I can just talk.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah, my computer keeps spinning. I'm not sure what's going on. So I am Julia Lindgren. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Architecture. This is actually my first year in the world of academia, period. So being a service learning fellow this past spring was a really great kind of bridge between the work that I had done working for private design institutions and nonprofit organizations before UTA, leading into kind of beginning to think about how service learning engages with students now here as a professor. Previous to here, a lot of my work is based in architectural practice. It always centers community and community voice at the heart of it. I believe deeply that design can be used as a tool to create more equitable and just communities, and that community members really have to have agency and decision-making power in order for that to happen. This past semester, I focused my service learning project on a site in Joppy. Joppy is a community that is located about 6 miles south of downtown Dallas. It is kind of surrounded by a series of borders, man-made and naturally made. It's surrounded by the Trinity River on the eastern side, kind of heavy rail and infrastructure, including cement plants on the western side. And that isolation has created a community that both is extremely tight-knit in terms of social connections and cohesiveness, but also really isolates the community from services. Joppy is one of the most intact freedmen's communities within Dallas. It was founded by emancipated slaves in 1872, and it will be celebrating its 150th anniversary here soon, which is very exciting. And like so many majority Black communities, you know, it has been affected by so many systemic challenges, including proximity to heavy rail, lack of access to social services, lack of access to healthy foods, and things like that. And so this project, I was lucky to kind of come in and partner with both professors in the landscape architecture department and the architectural historic preservation department, who already had really strong relationships with those in the Joppy community. There was already a level of trust built. So for the past year, I've been doing, you know, kind of like light touch engagement art projects with some students this past year, and moving to thinking about my service learning project, which is actually going to take place in the spring of 2022, so next year. I was fortunate to connect with a nonprofit organization called Joppy Mama Farms. Met them at a community meeting in Joppy, and Joppy Mama Farms' mission is really to empower and regenerate the community through agriculture. Joppy Mama Farms was started by this like fourth of a woman, Miss Kimberly High. She is a long-term resident of Joppy. Her family has owned land in the neighborhood for generations, and she's also kind of dedicated her life to community farming, having worked both at Bonton Farms, if anyone's familiar, and also Paul Quinn's agricultural program that has really taken off. So her mission is really to both bring job skills to the community through job programs, specifically with women and women that are formerly incarcerated and dealing with drug and alcohol abuse specifically, provide healthy and fresh produce to this area that is extremely under-resourced currently, and then create really a community environment where folks can come together, share meals, break bread, learn healthy habits, and just come together as a community. And so kind of where I'm coming into play with that, Kim and her team certainly has an amazing set of skills we're kind of partnering the skills that University of Texas architecture students in their 4th year can bring to do a partnered design and build project. So we are starting with kind of basic research, getting to know the community conversations, understanding opportunities and challenges, researching things like food equity and systemic racism that has taken place, that has formed kind of who the community is today. And then working with the community to go through a series of design workshops where we're designing in collaboration with the community. And then towards the end of the semester, starting to build out, again, with the community, build side by side with community volunteers, community infrastructure that will support the farm. And that can look like kind of program to be determined, because it will be determined through the community engagement process, but most likely it will look at things like raised beds, you know, rain capture systems, outdoor teaching classroom, farm stand, and the like. So really the impact of this project, impact from the community, is really to build community capacity within the Joppy Mama Farms organization, to increase civic participation for Joppy residents as a whole, and to also kind of create, you know, a lasting physical infrastructure that will sustain Joppy Mama Farms for them to be successful in years ahead. And then from a student perspective, really the impact, so much impact through hands-on experiential learning, partnering hand-to-hand, really listening and learning, both about different perspectives that folks bring to the table. I think it's so important for architects in particular. I think we tend to, as young architects, think that you have the best idea. So really learning to listen and take in the complexities of architecture and thinking outside of the site, but to the complex systems that inform architecture, and really just like having a ton of fun. I think what I've learned through service learning is that these projects tend to be more time consuming, certainly, but the rewards from both the student perspective, having just done it for 1 year now, and from a personal perspective, as I am like reading through student reflections and engaging in regular dialogue in group format with students about how their thought processes, even about what the architecture profession means, has shifted, and how they're viewing communities that they may not be familiar with, that they're having exposure for the first time, that they might come with preconceived notions, how that shifts, are really kind of crucial skills that I hope that they take away into their learning. And I know I didn't touch on the UN, but I'm aware of the time. I think, you know, a lot of the principles here, certainly the community partner in Joppy Mama Farms, they are tackling a ton of sustainability principles on their own. I think what we're layering on as UT students is really around the equity piece of this and sustainable community piece. And we're bringing a process, and we're bringing a way of working in collaboration that will only advance Joppy Mama Farms' mission, and then also student learning.
That is amazing. That was great, Julia.
Thanks. I'll try to put the presentation in the chat. I'm sorry about that. It's better
No, or you can just share it with me and I can email it to everyone. I can do that. But this was great information, and I'm especially interested in it because I'm launching an initiative on campus, which is focused on developing a North Texas Food Policy Alliance. And I have like 40 stakeholders. You should be part of that. I will email you after this.
Yes, you should definitely connect with this group. They're amazing.
Perfect. That was a great project, and you know that led me to say that the Office of Sustainability has started a quarterly sustainability newsletters, and so if you have stories like that you would like to highlight and share it with the campus community, please do send it to me. I'm going to put the chat, the link for the newsletter in the chat. You can subscribe and send me an email like you would like to highlight your project or work, and we'll include it in the next newsletter.
Great. Thank you so much. I will.
Thank you so much, Julia. Expect an email from me. Thank you. Jeff, we are on time for the next breakout room, I guess.
Yes, we are. I think we're ready for the next breakout. So at this point, Meghna will once again divide you up into groups. And she'll mix you up again, so you're perhaps with new colleagues. And at this part of the day, sort of reflections on where you are, the ideas you have. If there's any thoughts about what you just heard, the great projects that are going on through the Center for Service Learning, that would be great. Thinking about adding those. And just continuing that conversation. And I will continue to cycle through and listen and contribute where I can. So we'll go from there.
Okay.
Okay, good. So I understand how logistically challenging that was, and I'm impressed that Magna is so astute at doing this technology stuff. I mean, I'm in awe, actually, I have to say. So what I thought we might do is just take 15 minutes or so. Not everybody has to speak, but I shared 4 photographs, and maybe one person from each group could say the photograph we had was this, and we chatted about it briefly, and here were some of the more interesting ideas about how we might use it in a course related to sustainability. So why don't we begin with chat room 1? And I don't know who is in there, but is there anybody from chat room 1 who would like to describe the photograph and talk briefly about what you discussed?
I'm not sure we know our chat room numbers.
Oh, okay. So who had the picture of the golf course?
That was us. I recommend Felicia, or nominate Felicia on what you were just talking about regarding the theater arts, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot.
No, not at all. I was mentioning I teach a devised theater course, which is basically a course where I teach students how to create new theater. And I think most of us think of theater as being plays that are written by a playwright, and then an actor gets the script and they're cast in a role, and that's what they do. But there's a whole world of theater, of new theater being made. And I was telling the group that there's a form of theater called devised theater, where you throw a bunch of theater artists together. It can be all actors, or it could be actors and designers, and maybe a director, or maybe some musicians. And you take source material like a book or a poem or a song, or you could just throw in an idea or a theme, or you could take a hot topic, and the group comes together to generate ideas and start to approach what the perspective might be on this topic, or what the perspectives might be on the topic, and start to build a show, a piece of theater to share with an audience. So part of my work is to teach the students how to approach that, how to develop a script from a collaborative standpoint, not based on writing, but based on doing and talking and discovering. And then all of the elements of that, like dramatic structure, how to begin, how to end, how to keep it interesting all the way through, being very blunt and harsh with them about, like, that did not work, or that was not interesting. And then, but also how to make it palatable, how to get students to think about how to affect an audience and get them to stay, to sit through the piece past the intermission. So all that background to say that it would be interesting in that class. I feed them content, I feed them prompts, and then they make theater. It's just a constant making, and learning to generate and let go of ideas and learn how to fail, basically. And I could feed them this picture and sort of prompt them with a few ideas about it, like, here's a golf course. Maybe go do a little bit of research on it, some things to think about. This golf course uses a lot of water. This golf course is available only to a certain category of people based on socioeconomic resources. This golf course gives a lot of people a job. There are people whose livelihood depends upon this golf course existing. Go do some research and bring back a piece of theater that do the research and then work with your group to create a piece of theater that would address what you discover about the golf course in a way that somebody would sit and watch. They would want to sit and watch it and learn about what you have to offer. And you can approach it from an informative level, from a persuasive level. You could get them to try to make a change in their life, or just from entertainment standpoint, just bring awareness to the topic. So that's what we were discussing at then.
That's great. And if any of you are interested, Meghna or I can share all 4 pictures with you if you want to see the others as well. Why don't we move on to the group who had the residence hall room?
I believe that was our group with Andy, Chris, myself, and somebody else. Karen, yeah. Who wants to start?
So, I could. Am I there?
Yeah.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I can't see myself, so I don't know. Oh, now I can. Okay. Yeah. Very quickly, we all approached the room from within our disciplinary perspectives. Douglas talked about the lighting and the direction of the windows and problems with modern architecture, or more generally, architecture that is based just on the ideas of design without any thought given to the actual location, in terms of climate, seasonal variability, lighting, and that sort of thing. So a building that works in Berlin should work in Arlington, should work in Jakarta, and it doesn't. That's not the case. Andy talked about, he's right here.
Sense of place and where that building is, why it's where it is, and how it relates to the cultural landscape broadly. I don't know that I said all that in our small group, but that's what I began thinking about from a geography perspective.
And I talked about the ways in which I would ask students to think about how the building connects them to non-human nature. So the forests where the trees are cut down to make the wood on the floor, another wood in the building, the mines where minerals come from, the sources of the clay that the bricks are made from, where the electricity that lights the lights come from, and so forth. These all, so you could be indoors in a building on the UTA campus, but you're connected to outdoor places and non-human natural locations all around the world through that building. We should just let the rest of you, since everyone's here, speak for yourselves.
I can jump in. Susan and I both thought about the mental health aspects with big windows, lots of natural light, how that might, positively impact emotional well-being. From a social work perspective, I was looking at the people, right? Who is there? There were some tiny people in the back, and I was trying to see, who is in this building, what's their age, ethnicity, all of that to kind of see, who is this for, who's represented. Here, are there accessibility issues, within the building? So kind of thinking about that human perspective in addition to all the more strictly environmental things that were mentioned.
Great.
And I approach it from a communication perspective rather than studying the space itself, but thinking about how to utilize this space for communication activities such as campaign, working on promoting sustainability, or even have a monitoring mechanism to alert users or residents or whoever in the space, the carbon footprint, the records and things like that.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, once again, if you could walk into the space, and sit there for 20 minutes, it's amazing what can emerge. Why don't we move on to the next group? I think they had the UT Arlington Hall.
Was this the dorm room?
No, it's the one that's UT Arlington Hall is the one that was, it's a picture, it's got like a quilt flag and peak
Oh, that's the
season.
one we just discussed. I guess we got our rooms
Yeah,
mixed
that
up.
was us.
Yeah.
That was you. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so we just discussed Arlington Hall, yeah.
okay. So then let's go to, we had another picture that was of a choir standing near a grand piano.
I wish you can show the pictures.
I'm doing it. I'm putting it.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try to share them, Magda?
No, I can put it in the chat.
Okay.
Because me and my friends, we were talking about one of the rooms as well, right, Kendra? So.
Yes, we're group 4 and we actually had the dorm room.
Right.
Oh my.
And
Right.
Peggy has put in the chat, group 3 actually had the chorus.
Right.
So Fajer, you want to talk, are we doing the dorm room next?
I think we're doing the chorus next.
Chorus. All right, Peggy.
Okay, it's not our turn?
No, Peggy should go.
Oh, I'm probably not the best spokesperson for the group. Let's see, is it Leah? Do you want to share?
Sure.
Yeah,
So
some
I
good
am
insight.
not looking it from my discipline at all. Well, the first thing I when I looked at this picture, I was thinking about, well, we mentioned unity and diversity, right? We see this whole group of people working together, coming from different diverse backgrounds and working harmoniously to achieve this goal of being in a choir. And to me and to our group, that's kind of what how it has to be to achieve whatever sustainable goal that we have, or to achieve any action to move the climate movement forward. Like, it takes everybody, and it takes everybody willing to step back a little bit, let someone lead, and whenever it's their turn, they have to lead, and then having other people step back. So like, there's no ego in this thing. Like, everybody has to come together to work together to achieve that goal. We also talked a little bit about, looking at this room. A lot of times we're walking into a concert hall or a music setting. We don't think about sustainability or the climate movement or the climate crisis. But at the same time, if you sit down and really like look around the entire room, there are a lot of things that you can see. The wooden floor, right? The walls, are they sustainable at all? The fabrics that people are wearing, where are they being sourced? Are they related to the culture or whatever contents that they're presenting? The other thing I also mentioned is that, in a music hall or concert or whatever you call it, a setting like this, there's always a design that work with acoustics so that all of the audience can actually hear it pretty okay and pretty great. And in in architecture and design, there's a thing called biophilic design. That's supposed to, we now rely so much on climate control and AC and heat and stuff like that. But there's a way to design our building and our living surrounding and context in a way that we don't really have to depend on climate control. And the technology is there already. How do we scale it up to make it widely available to everybody? Like, looking at the choir right here, right? Making it available to everybody. And that's sort of the metaphor that we're having right now in higher education. How do we make sure the ideas and the practice are always being available to students, whether whatever socioeconomic standards or backgrounds they're from. And then same thing, taking it even into a more of a larger context. How do we make sure more sustainable practice, whether systemic or personal, how do we scale them up to make sure the entire society and people in this global South and US South and students coming from lower socioeconomic standard actually have access to that? Yeah, I hope I sum up that right, if you guys want to add in anything.
Okay, that was good. So there still is the dorm room. Does somebody want to speak about the residence hall briefly?
Yeah, I can start with the physics part of it. I think Benito can talk about the calculation part of it. Kendra can talk about the material and carbon footprint of it, and Alicia about the green and plants inside out, maybe just a little bit. But actually, if I wanna, I'm teaching a course called the Energy and the Environment, and part of it, we're talking about the solar energy at houses and solar panels. So we believe that maybe these buildings need to be equipped with solar thermal collectors or solar perhaps to generate electricity. Why not? Here at UTA, we should be the example, right? So I teach my students about that and the design of them. So this is on the outside part of it. But for the room itself, we call them passive solar for housing. We have 3 design elements: collection, storage, and insulation. About each part of this actually. So there is something called Trump walls. And because we measure the natural sunlight through also the windows, we take that into consideration. The concrete mass, if they are heat collectors, and the storage part of it, thermal convection, we take all that into consideration. And when we talk about designing you know, environmental friendly houses. So, and of course, the wall insulations, and we all already care for it. And also the windows, we look for double glazed windows. It's where it's facing the orientation of the whole house. Every single element of the, literally, as you see it here in this room. I don't know if, so we do that and we give it to the mathematicians and we tell them, go ahead, do the calculations, right, Benito?
Right, okay, at first I didn't see how we could use it in a math class, okay, but after Fager talk, okay.
You can refer it to us, the physicists.
Yeah, Fager's a physicist, okay, which is great, okay. But then we saw that we can set it up as an optimization problem and try to incorporate it into probably a numerical methods class. It will be a really hard optimization problem or different optimization problems. One can be to try to minimize the cost of constructing that room.
And do simulation.
Right. Okay,
then send it to the engineers, Kendra.
The cost of energy, okay, versus the cost of insulation, okay, or double pane windows. Okay, how long will it take for the room to pay itself?
Absolutely, okay. Absolutely. We have to take all that into consideration. Now,
like that can be set up, okay. There are really hard problems, okay, but it can get students into thinking of more realistic optimization problems that have to do with the environment. Maybe also try to put an environmental cost. Okay, materials have to be transported. Okay, if you're cutting wood, okay, they always destroy forests or whatever. Okay, so you can add those costs there, okay, to make students aware of the damage that building that room does to the environment.
That's great. That's great.
And then the engineers start working on it, right, Kendra?
Right. Yeah, so I talked about like just considering all the materials that you use for the construction, for the windows, for the curtains, for the carpet, for the comforters, and what happens to those at the end of life. Not only do you want to think of the resources involved in making those materials, but then what's going to happen to them in the end, and not using plastics in the rug, and then probably you had all of that stuff shipped to you, and what was the carbon footprint of having all of that stuff shipped to outfit your dorm room. And so that was kind of my piece.
Alicia, do you want to give us a final beauty of it?
And
Final beauty touch.
Part is how cultural expectations and practices locally, as well as the general area of a space, influences consumption, and in turn environmentalism and sustainability, and how in your little dorm you have a small bed and a mini fridge and you just consume in accordance with that. And likewise, a home in France would have a small, no dryer, small washing machine, don't use air conditioning, that sort of thing, versus your home in Texas, which is ginormous and filled with tons of maybe furniture you don't even use. And why do you need all that stuff? And is it based more on culture and space than it is on what we really need?
That's great. That's great. Thank you all for your patience with getting the photographs and the conversations you've had as a result of them. One of the reasons that we always weave this into the workshop is because we recognize that place is really important. And where you're sitting right now, of course, in Texas, is not where I'm sitting in San Diego or where Peggy was sitting this morning in Atlanta. And, using the local place, and sometimes using places that we wouldn't even expect, can be an interesting way to draw students into thinking about sustainability. Sometimes, the kitchen, or even a restroom, or a parking garage, or a tree on campus. There's so many ways that can generate some really great ideas. So thank you all for that. Let's take about a 15-minute break, which means we see you back here. I'm still translating the time, about 2:05, and then we'll move on to the next piece, unless there are any questions before we take a 15-minute break.
Sounds good, Jeff.
Okay, see you all in 15 minutes.
So Jeff, can I ask you a question? I'm Ritu.
Sure.
Hi, Meghna.
Hey, Ritu, go for it.
So Jeff, you work with the Piedmont program in Emory. So was Deborah also a part of the Debla Spitulnik?
I don't remember her name. So I helped start the Piedmont project back in 2001 and 2002.
Uh-huh.
But I haven't really been directly involved with it since then.
Okay.
Yeah, so I just don't remember her. I mean, I sometimes, it's embarrassing. I've done so many of these things that, people will come up to me at conferences and say, oh, hi. And I'm thinking, where did I see you last? Yeah.
Meghna sent us information on the Piedmont program. So thanks for that, Meghna. I'm using Deborah's template syllabus as a potential to kind of, model after, because she does exactly the kind of work I do with media, cultural anthropologist, and I have long appreciated her work and admired her research. So I thought it was a very lucky connection there.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. Is everybody back at this point?
I think so.
Okay. So one of the things, as you can tell, that one of the patterns of this workshop is to move from small group discussion to here's more information to small group discussion. And now we're back to here's more information. And this one, usually we have somebody who comes in and sort of walks into the room and does a presentation. And this year, because of the virtual nature of this, I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to type into the meeting chat a link for you all to go to individually. And what I would suggest is you spend about 15 minutes on that link. So if it's 2:10 when you start, try to wrap up by about 2:25 or so. And we'll get back together at 2:30 at the latest. And spend about 15 minutes with that link. You'll find on it that there are a number of choices you can make to explore different parts of it. And I won't give anything away at this point, but it will take you, I hope, into some interesting directions. So are there any questions before I type in this link?
Sorry, I was disconnected by mistake. Can you please repeat what are we supposed to do?
So what I'm going to put a link into the chat. I'll put a link into the chat so that you will all have it. And individually, you will all go to that link on your computer and explore that website for about 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes, we'll get back together as a large group. And at that point, Meghna will once again set up small group discussions, and you'll get together to talk about what you explored on that link and how it might affect or help you think about introducing sustainability. Any other questions? Is that?
That sounds good.
Okay. There's the link. So just click on that, go to that site, and then we'll get back together in about 15 minutes, about 2:25. Good.
That's good.
Well, yes. Well, those conversations were incredible, wonderful. Thank you so much. And thank you for all that you've put into today. I'm just, as I've said before, I'm very impressed, and your students are very, very fortunate to have you working with them as they go through your university. So what I'd like to do now is I'd like to spend a little bit of time just getting from all of you kind of doing a wrap up of today and talking about next steps. We are together tomorrow for about half a day. And I have some plans for how we'll spend that. But I also wanted to give you a chance to talk about, are there particular ideas, things, follow-ups, resources that you hope get covered tomorrow? I can't promise that we can cover everything, but I'd certainly like to know kind of what is sort of hanging out there for you at this point, and get a sense of what we might come back to as we start tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, one of the things that's come up in more than one of the break rooms is the role that capitalism, and particularly American capitalism, plays, and how we begin to extricate ourselves from this. So I think that would be a topic if you want to begin to discuss that. I just put a book in the chat that I highly recommend, even though it's from 2008, because oftentimes the immediate response is, well, you want us to become like Venezuela, and no, there are 180 nations between us and Venezuela. So I'm just wondering whether you have any pearls of wisdom that you can share with us tomorrow regarding how one responds when you begin to open up that conversation and the doors and ears begin to slam shut immediately.
Okay, good. Anything else?
I think there were some questions about the Sustainability Office at UTA and what resources and things UTA is actually doing. I don't know if that's already on the agenda for tomorrow, but just providing a little information about UTA's specific initiatives and what we're already doing.
I'll just add, this may already be on our agenda, it looks like, but I'm always inspired by hearing about what other people are doing. Models of projects and assessments and so forth that's be working. Hearing what Julia and Amanda are up to earlier was really great in our local area. So the more examples and ideas I can steal from other people, maybe, would be great.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be good. Yes.
I'd like to see us put together a list of, like, there's the big event, which is a annual event where students do a one-day volunteering, usually just for a specific number of hours, and they have multiple different community partners that they can work for. I'd like to see maybe a green event started at UTA, and maybe have that, maybe some of us can incorporate that into our curriculum somehow. A week put together, or if we could have the student activities department, who currently assembles the big event list, put together some student activities that would be, a great place to start.
Okay, great.
I think the part of that is likely included in the Earth Day activity before COVID. I guess they had some sustainable part of it.
Yeah, we did have an Earth Day. We always have it in April in person on campus. We had to cancel it last year, and this year we did a virtual event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else? Megna, is there anything you would like to add? We're a little early, but I'll let you.
Yeah, so since we have a few minutes, I know Kendra asked about the sustainability efforts at UTA and what UTA is doing, and so I put it in the chat window, but I would highly recommend going to the website. It's very much updated to the last data for 2019 for water, energy, everything, and it's listed by initiative. So if you go to the website, we have listed information for everything that we are doing for education and outreach. It's also including a list of all the academic courses with the focus on sustainability, our sustainability report, energy conservation, sustainable dining, water conservation, community gardening. Every information is there. But this is exactly why I wanted to have this network, because I feel like sometimes everybody's operating in silos, including me. I'm a very small department of 2 people, and so able to reach to everybody on campus about sustainability is a challenge, but hopefully this platform offers an opportunity to overcome that. And we do a lot of events on campus. We include announcements in the Mapwire, Trailblazer, Shorthorn about Earth Day. We do an electronic waste pickup program twice a year. We started a food recovery network on campus with a student organization, which is the Mavs Go Green. We are launching this network. We have a regional center of expertise for education on sustainable development, where we've been working with 70 stakeholders in the North Texas region on various initiatives and aligning it with the UN SDG goals. And some of the faculty on campus are very involved in it. Melanie from College of Engineering, Douglas, Chris, and they've been working with me. But I would encourage you to go to the website, look at initiatives, and if you think that something is of interest to you, perhaps we can connect one-on-one and, even schedule some time to discuss how we can take that conversation forward. I already got a few ideas from the meeting today, talking to Lonnie and Julia and others. But yeah, trying to engage with students, faculty, staff, from academic perspective, from an operational perspective, it is not it is not easy, and so I really rely on a lot of you here to help me with that, and I'm so grateful for their support and encouragement throughout the years. But I'm happy to take any questions right now if there are any burning questions that I can answer.
I have one that may sound kind of petty, but I know that each building and each office area has recycle bins in the office, and you put your paper, and I guess all recyclables go in that small one, and it's supposed to be taken out by the facilities, the people. Yeah. What if you witness and know for sure that that's just going into the trash? What do you do?
No, that's for sure. Whatever is in the recycle bin goes into the recycle bin, unless the compactor, the big compactors which are placed in the UC, sometimes they get contaminated because people are throwing in their own stuff, and that whole load goes into trash. But the individual bins, they do go into the recycle bins. I know for that for sure, and we have tried to have this in place where next to every recycle, next to every trash bin, there has to be a recycle bin, and we are working on having like an electronic waste bin program across the campus. We are working on it now where we'll put bins in like 14 locations on campus where you can bring and dump your electronic waste.
Okay. Well, I've just seen some of the facilities people just take and say, no, just put it in the trash. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there's a little bit of education and training involved in that. And that's also because there's such a big turnover with the custodian staff, So every time new staff comes in, the training and education aspect has to happen. And that has not happened for various reasons. But that's the reason for it.
Okay, that explains it.
But that's good to know.
Yeah, I just took it home.
Yeah.
Put it in my recycle bin.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and since Susan mentioned that, I just want to mention, I don't know if what the Office of Sustainability is training students to do this. Is it part of their freshman requirements? Is it, because even when we have all these bins out there and then we make sure those things go towards wherever they are supposed to go, if students are not doing that, essentially the first source and the first place they put things in the bin, it's contaminated already, right? Yeah. So is there an initiative like training student and faculty member do it correctly?
Yeah, so that's a possibility. It has happened in the past. We've tried to do lunch and learn workshops, like 11 to 1, where we ask people to bring their lunch in and, kind of do a training on recycling. And pre-COVID also, we used to arrange this and we would get like 5 people to show up. And, we used to have people come in from balconies to do the training, and there was really no participation. So we had to stop doing that and instead, try to put like proper labels on the recycle bins. Recently, the MAVS Go Green has a really promising Kappa PhD student who's the president, and also she got elected to the Student Senate, and she has been very active working with over 500 students of the MAVS Go Green to kind of educate the students about sustainability initiatives. And we recently signed a new contract with our with Balcony Services for recycling services for UTA. So we have included this in the contract that they provide training and sort of an information session once every 3 months for the UTA community.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, so hopefully as we come out of COVID and we have in-person people coming back on campus with the new contract in place, we'll try to schedule at least once every semester, if not every 3 months, one sort of a training on, for students, faculty, and staff on how to recycle, what to recycle, and why it's important not to throw your, trash in the recycle bin because it contaminates everything. Mm-hmm. But some of the departments and organizations have really worked with us. So library, they were renovating an entire floor and they reached out to us, and we recycled 73 tons of textbooks last summer, and there's another load that's getting processed now. And, some of the departments kind of recycle their furniture, and so they reach out to us and we find spots for them around the campus. So if your office or department has those needs, we can take care of it separately. You don't have to rely on the centralized recycling services for that.
Meghna, this is Arpita from Civil Engineering. I have a question. I know on UTA campus, department-wise, we have those green labels. Maybe I'm using a different name. Yes, the green teams. You have the silver, gold, platinum, and I wanted to reach out to someone. I guess I made a call last week or before that, and I wanted to get some information about that. How we can, target a level.
Yeah.
And kind of make our efforts to achieve that sticker or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
So who is the right person to get some more information or discuss on this thing? I think civil engineering has the silver level probably some few years ago.
Yeah.
And I really want to strive for the next level if, with all the effort that we can put in by the department.
That's great. Yeah. So I put a link in the chat for the Office Green Team application. And 3 months ago, I hired a sustainability coordinator who was kind of revamping the whole Office Green Team. So what we are doing is we are modifying the application, scheduling one-on-one audit with all the departments and signing on new departments. So I put her email in the chat. Please email her and she will work with you. She's from my office.
Okay, so you are kind of revamping this forms and everything?
No, whatever we have, we are kind of just going through an audit process. Like she will reach out to you and say, hey, well, do you want to upgrade to the next level, which is exactly what you want to do. And so what are we doing? And so we'll modify the application for you.
Okay, all right, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else?
And if anybody has quick questions for me, I'm happy to address those. I can also wait until tomorrow, but I've really enjoyed today. I mean, I really have. It's been really a lot of fun. So.
Yeah. And I do want to stress about the Regional Center of Expertise that we have for Education on Sustainable Development. It's an initiative of the United Nations University. So actually we got approved by the United Nations University to launch this center on campus. And it is one of the 179 centers across the world. There are only 7 in the US. ASU just got approved this year and Georgetown University is applying for next year. But this is the only one in Texas. And in March, we had a summit where we had the Assistant Secretary General of the UN come and give a keynote speech, and we had like 250 attendees from North Texas attend that event. Melanie is very active in that, and she has done presentations, and we have applied for funding together. We are actually applying for a USDA grant funding for our North Texas Food Policy Alliance. So, I guess it's like, I work with people that I know of their research expertise, but this network will give me a chance to actually interact with more people and know their research expertise and kind of have that one-on-one interaction. It's like if a research project comes our way, it's like this person is perfect for this, and I reach out to them. Chris.
I've been all day, especially with the small groups, been compiling a bibliography every time somebody suggests a book. And I wonder if maybe for tomorrow we could do that. If everyone could, I mean, we've got a fairly big group. So if everyone came with like the one thing that they've read that they think everyone in the group could use, then we could go away, with among all the other things we're taking away from this workshop, a bibliography, a reading list.
That's great. Maybe we can use that for a sustainability book club. That
that is a great idea. And actually, when we do these workshops in person, when we send people away the first day, we ask them to come back with a book and then put it on a table so that everybody can sort of sift through each other's books. So I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah. That's a great idea, yeah.
Anything else before we wrap up today? Peggy?
Oh, I just want to say to everyone, Jeff lives in the same neighborhood as my childhood home. I thought that was really like small world.
Well, it's amazing. And I've heard some of you have named other places where I have lived as well. So, you know, The Ohio State, Wisconsin, you know, Magna and I have both been in the Bay Area. So, yeah, there are all these wonderful connections. So,
So is it lunchtime yet?
it is lunchtime. So if there isn't anything more, we'll stop for today. Unless there's new messages here.
Thank you so much.
Well, it's clear, Magna, that you are doing a great job. This is an amazing group, and once again, I'm just so grateful to be involved in this conversation today and tomorrow. I really appreciate it. So, thank you very much. So,
all right, meet tomorrow.
We'll meet tomorrow at 6 a.m. my time. No, I'm just joking. It will be 6 a.m. It'll be 7 a.m. my time, right? 9 a.m. is when we start, I think. Your time?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, we look forward to seeing you then. And have a great evening and take care. And we'll see you in the morning.
Thanks, everyone.
Magna, is there anything you want to share with me before we get off today?
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just going to go send up a follow-up email with all the information and the links from today.
Okay, and I am going to send you, several people have asked me for the one quote I used this morning. So I will send that to you right away so that you can include that if you'd like. Great.
Sounds great. Thank you then.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff and Magna. Thank you so much.